Pegasystems. My name is Maureen Rystrom. I am the Vice President of Marketing and a partner at J. Kalman and Associates, and I have the privilege of serving on the Executive Committee of CoreNet New England as President-elect. Before we get into the program, we have some brief CoreNet announcements. Mark your calendars for these upcoming events. Tomorrow, we have a program, How Science and Data are Helping Organizations Return to a New Normal. Dr. Michael Gow will talk about how companies are using data and specifically AI to help manage workplace health issues. On 2/19, we have a program, The Future of Work. JLL will share their research and perspective on the future of work as they see it today and address questions like, what will reentry look like? How will it happen? And what role does location play? On 2/24, we have another program, The Future of Work and Mobility Planning. This program will feature a group of panelists that have or are in the process of implementing their mobility, remote, and hybrid work strategies as part of their future workplace. This workshop will focus on two of the key elements for success, enabling technologies and HR policies. You'll hear the challenges and issues our speakers have addressed as they evaluate and implement their workplace of the future and mobility solutions. And then finally, on 3/25, save the date. This is our annual CoreNet meeting where you will vote on the slate and hear everything that's happened last year and some of the things that are coming up. Next slide. Yeah, we encourage all of you to join the conversation and stay connected with us through LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter. If you have news to share about job openings, project updates, new hires or promotions, awards, or any other announcements, send them to our Communications Committee social media liaison, Stephen Smith, from North Star Project and Real Estate Services. His email is stephen.smith@northstar-pres.com. We would not be the chapter we are today or be able to offer such incredible programming and educational offerings without the support of our corporate partners and our Founder Circle sponsors. Thank you to our corporate partners that are listed on the screen here and our platinum sponsors. And would also like to thank our gold and silver sponsors. Your commitment and support is critical to our chapter's continued success. We want to hear from all of you throughout this webinar and address your questions. Please use the Q&A window in Zoom, not chat, as we will only be looking at the Q&A window. Following the discussion, we'll get to as many questions as we can live. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's program. In 2019, Pegasystems began to implement a new workplace strategy. JCNA was almost finished with the construction when everything was shut down. Today, Dan and Steve of Pegasystems are going to take us on a video tour of their now completed space, followed by a discussion with Margulies Peruzzi focused on what happens next. It is now my privilege to introduce today's speakers. Dan Ryan is Vice President of Real Estate and Facilities at Pegasystems. Dan has been with Pegasystems for over 10 years. In that time, he and his teams have transformed the way they design and build their offices globally. Pega has over 5,000 employees around the world. Key offices include Hyderabad and Bangalore, India, Krakow, Poland, Amsterdam, Reading, England, with additional offices in Cambridge, Mass., Salem, New Hampshire, and Alpharetta, Georgia. During his career, Dan has worked for many of the leading technology companies in the 128 corridor, including Raytheon, PowerSoft, RSA Security, Silverstream Software, and EMC. Next is Stephen Farrick, Facilities Manager at Pegasystems. For 5 years now, Steve has worked at Pegasystems as Facility Manager and most recently as the North America Facilities Manager. In this role, Steve has been instrumental in getting all of Pega's processes and procedures to be consistent across offices and to develop the delivery of services to all of their employee base in North America. Steve has also been taking on increasing roles in the area of leasing and office development, leading the project we're talking about today in the CRAVE series. Prior to Pegasystems, he worked as a facility manager at Kronos, and he also owned his own business for many years. Next, we have Mark Margulies, Principal and Senior Partner at Margulies Peruzzi. Since founding the firm in 1988, Mark Margulies has built Margulies Peruzzi into the award-winning architecture and interior design firm with a wide range of workplace, healthcare, science, and real estate development clients. For more than 3 decades, Margulies Peruzzi's reputation and size has grown steadily and purposefully to one of the largest and most respected design firms in Boston. Before starting Margulies Peruzzi, Mark was responsible for all corporate architectural design, field office design, and project management for Fidelity Investments from 1983 through 1988. And finally, we have Janet Mora, a principal and partner at Margulies Peruzzi, and she is a leader of the firm's workplace studio. Since joining Margulies Peruzzi in 1991, Janet has overseen many of the firm's largest and most complex projects, specializing in corporate headquarters and large renovations. She is also a strong proponent for Margulies Peruzzi's sustainable design and wellness-based design initiatives, and has written extensively about LEED and well-building standards. Some of Janet's notable award-winning projects include the innovative LEED Gold headquarters for software company PTC, the high-performance workplace for Zipcar's headquarters, the LEED Gold headquarters for Iron Mountain, and the LEED Platinum headquarters for Forrester Research. Janet has been a key contributor and driving force behind Margulies Peruzzi's workplace strategy research. She is a frequent presenter on how business drivers affect workplace design and how emerging business practices will continue to shape the workspace of the future. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who will introduce the video his team produced, and from what I hear, in one take. Dan, all yours.
Thanks, Maureen. Here we go. Hey, Steve, look at this. The guys from Coordinator here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pegasystems. You know, we've been told that you guys wanted to see our 4th floor project, and to make this a little bit easier on us, don't tell anybody, but we're going to go COVID-less on this tour. So come on in. We're going to show you our 4th floor at 1 Charles Park. So this is our new space. We built it over the last year here at Pega, and what we've tried to do is create some new space for Pega. We're calling it our version 3 because it's the 3rd iteration of Workspace here at Pega since I've joined over 10 years ago. This is my facility manager, Steve Farrick. Steve's going to come on the tour with us and talk a little bit about what we learned while we built out the space. Hey, Steve, while we're waiting, can you make us a cup of coffee? Sure. And we'll sort of talk to the people a bit about who Pega is. So Pega builds a platform that very large companies use to build very complex solutions to solve problems to help their customers and build their business. Some of the examples we like to use when we talk about what Pega does is the one I think we're most proudest recently is we worked with the U.S. Census Bureau to participate in a large part of the U.S. Census. All of the people that came and knocked on your door, if you didn't send back those pieces of paper, used a mobile device, whether it be an iPhone or an iPad or even an Android device, to take all of your answers and immediately collect them while they were out walking around. For those of you who travel internationally, one of our partners built an application for Heathrow Airport where they manage all ground operations from wheels down into wheels up again. Very complex, very challenging solution that we worked on. And we have a number of other partners that are out there that have done some really great stuff. But what we're going to do, hey, thank you very much. What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about this office. This office was originally designed to be for permanent people that were going to be here every day. That was always part of our culture prior to COVID-19. But as we were finishing it, we were already having everybody work from home, and we're in the process of morphing this space into something new. Luckily, we had already started to take into consideration work from home and how people were going to collaborate in the future. And we'll talk about some of the additional changes that we made to the space as we go through the tour that we're about to do. What I'm going to do is talk to you now is the cafeteria space. Obviously, we have the ability to make coffee down here. We have refrigerators so that people can bring their lunch in because they're going to be flex officing. But what we wanted to do is create space that people could have lunch, collaborate during the day, have a party at night if they wanted to. And it was originally going to be designed so that people could come and play games, ping pong, pool, foosball, and that kind of stuff. But what we really realized post-COVID is that ping pong and that foosball probably wasn't going to happen because people are going to be too close to each other. So what we did is we created some collaboration space. And as you all know, these chairs, if we were here on a regular basis, half of them would be taken away so that people could socially distance. But we're not going to be playing foosball and ping pong, at least not anytime in the near future. And then the other thing that we did is we were planning on having our friends from IT come down here and be able to help out with help desk stuff. So we actually created some space over here where the IT folks could do that. But what I want to do now is try to take you into some of the collaboration spaces that we built. We're going to go take a little walk over here and show you some of that other stuff. Hey, Steve, isn't there a conference room down here that we can go to?
Right around the corner we've got.
Okay, let's go in here and sort of show everybody what we got here for collaboration space.
Work's busy done.
Oh, who's here?
Oh,
John, how are you?
good.
Hey, this is really great. We've got some friends from CoreNet here that wanted to sort of see our new space that we built with Marlies and Peruzzi.
Yeah.
Can you sort of talk about the technology that we put in here?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a fully integrated Cisco system. All you need to do is go into Microsoft Outlook, book the room, set up a meeting, and the room automatically knows what time you want to be here and can connect you to the meeting with one button press. Oh no. 2 button presses, sorry.
So, John, you know, we've worked really closely with IT over the years. Are there any changes that we made in this conference room compared to other projects?
Oh yeah, this one, huge improvement. We got rid of the sound masking, which was driving the microphones on our devices insane. It didn't know where the noise was coming from. It all just sounded like white noise.
Are you telling me I did something wrong on the first project, John?
I mean, something wrong. Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
It was disaster.
So what you just see is we have a really great rapport with our IT AV team. We have worked together on numerous projects around the world. And that open and free dialogue that we have back and forth has allowed us to do some really cool stuff. John, anything else that we did to this room to help you out?
Yeah, this room sounds great. We have this new acoustic treatment on both of these walls. They also look great. And they just help keep down the reflections and just make it a really crisp experience.
It really did make your job a lot easier because you used to get a lot of phone calls from people because they would complain about the sound quality of their meetings.
And I knew exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah. All right. So that's what it is. It's really about being free and open and honest about learning what you can do better. Now, Steve, you know, I think you told me that you have a place that you go and hide somewhere on the 4th floor, and I've never been able to find it. Can you show me where you go when you come and hide down here?
I wouldn't say hide.
Oh, really?
I do come down here.
Why do you come down here for this?
Well, one big reason is because you're not here, and I can just tuck myself away.
Wow, you can just disappear down here, can't you?
That's right. Could have a phone call, could be on a meeting if I wanted to. It has the cushions here for sound masking. It's very comfortable and looking out at daylight.
That's really cool. So a lot of this is all built around collaboration. Steve, is there other collaboration space down here that we want to show everybody?
There are actually quite a few. I can show you one right over this way.
Oh, cool. Oh, I forgot about this space. That's right, Steve. This is really cool. This is one of my favorite spots out of this project. One of the things that we have been asked for, especially from our marketing, the creative people in marketing, is to create some space that's open, that they can move around furniture and be able to do all sorts of stuff. They wanted a lot of natural light. They wanted the ability to just come in here and just sit down and start talking to each other without having to schedule the space. And so this corner spot was identified very early in the project that this is where we're going to put those creative people. We've got fantastic natural light, so when they're looking at colors and trying to decide some of the stuff in our brand, they can see it in natural light. Hopefully I look better while we're talking here. The other thing we did is we gave them all soft furniture because they didn't want it to be formal. Creative people want to feel comfortable. They want to be informal. They don't want to feel like they're business people. They want to feel like they're creative people, and they have an environment where they can do that. And then finally, and most importantly, we have ample whiteboard space here for them so that they can keep track of everything that they're talking about and everybody can chime in. They have magnets up there so that they can put paper and anything else that they want to hang from the metallized boards. It really is a very customizable space for whoever might want to come in here. Now, this transition for our marketing team really started with our CMO. He wanted some transformational space for his organization. So what I want to do is take it down to his office and we can talk about how we worked with Tom to change his office so that he set the standard for the rest of his team. Come on along. Oh, you know what? I was just thinking, before we go, is John? Oh, John, you are here. Great.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, you know what? We're going to go to Tom's office, but before we do that, I want to talk to Margulies about a change in the drawing. Can we get them on WebEx and talk to them on this fancy board you got?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just use that number that I gave you earlier.
Okay, that works.
Really? That's all you have to do is just type in a number and Margulies
Like dial
just
on a phone.
gets here?
Just like dial on the phone.
Holy smokes.
So this is a WebEx
Hey.
board.
Look at that. Diane and Janet are right here. That's really cool.
There they are. Hey guys.
Hey, you know what? While we were walking the Cornet people through, we were talking about a change that somebody in marketing wanted us to make to the drawing. Diane, can you call up the drawing so that we can talk about a change that I want to make?
Yeah, let me see.
Here you go. You might need this.
What's this?
It's a stylus, so you can it's basically your digital marker.
Really? And I can modify their drawing with this?
Mm-hmm. Make any changes you like.
Really? So I just touch it and I go like that?
Mm-hmm. And now it's taking a shot, and now you can edit it however you like.
So I can just draw on this? Really? So, listen, guys, everybody loves the drawing that you've done, right?
Right.
I'm sure you're going to get great feedback from everybody at Cornet after we get done here. But one of the things that we've heard from our marketing department is the upper right-hand corner of the drawing, right in this area, they want a library.
Okay.
You know, I think what we can do is put in a wall here and maybe, you know, I'm not an architect, you guys are. We can put a door in there. You know, I want to put all glass so that people can see who's in there and stuff like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you that drawing. Can you see those changes that I made?
Sure can.
So can you sort of take a look at this and see whether or not you can work something so that we can create a quiet space for the people in the future?
Sounds good. I think we can work out some options for you.
Hey, we're going to take the rest of the people from Cornet through the rest of the space. We'll catch you guys later and talk a little bit more about the project, okay?
Sounds good.
Thank you. So this is really one of the things that I really like about down here is this new office. So we have a new CMO. Actually, he's been here for quite a while, but when he first arrived here, he wanted to make big changes as far as how his office was configured. So we sat down with him and said, where do you want to go? And he said, Dan, I want something that creative people are going to feel comfortable coming in and meeting with me. I don't want it to be a formal meeting space. So we sat down and he said, all I want is a height adjustable desk. I want space that people will feel comfortable to come in, and I want to be able to collaborate with my team around the globe. So here are the changes. First thing is, what you see are barn doors, so that he can open his office and everybody is welcome at any point in time. Sends a complete different message than having a swing door. Second thing he did was, I want to be like everybody else. I want a big monitor. Most of our employees all have two. He wanted the big bent one. But most importantly, he has the same height adjustable desk as every one of our other employees. And then the big change was the conference room furniture. As you can see, it's all soft furniture, so that if he wants to have a business meeting, he can have a business meeting. But if he wants to have a creative meeting, which a large part of his staff is, a lot more of his staff will feel much more comfortable sitting in here than they would at a conference room table. And interestingly enough, as we have gone through and fixed or changed all of our FLT or leadership offices, all of them have followed this plan because they all want to have their offices be spaces that their employees are comfortable to come and visit them at any point in time. But most importantly, these guys travel on a regular basis, and they want their offices to be used as conference rooms when they're not here. And this is a great way to have 6 or 8 people in a conference room without having to schedule it. It's impromptu and available at any point in time, and it's very inviting space. So let's talk a little bit about how we built out the rest of the space. So as you can see, what we've done is gone with our traditional height adjustable desks. Everybody gets 2 monitors. One of the things that we'll talk about later on with the people from Margulies is how we're going to modify this space for post-COVID occupancy. Probably a little bit too dense than what we would like going forward, but ultimately we're still working on our post-COVID plans, and we're going to have some internal discussions on it. One of the other changes that we made, and we had a lot of discussions on this as the design team was working with us, is what are we going to do about trash? Because one of the things that we have talked about is with the change at Pega becoming all digital, the amount of paper, the amount of books, the amount of just everything that people have has been reduced significantly, and we're making a big push to sustainability. So one of the first things we did was take away all of the individual waste baskets and put in common waste areas within the space so that we didn't have to spend so much extra time with all of the cleaners. They can now go to 1 or 2 places on a floor and pick up all the trash rather than having to go to everybody's workspace. Now, we have a number of conference rooms that are here. They're all different sizes. But again, you'll see we brought in a whole bunch of different types of collaboration space. So we can have impromptu meetings that are here. As long as people are just talking, you want to get up and have a quick coffee with somebody, it's comfortable, it's easy to get to. But I think the neat thing that we have learned from building out this space is just how great these framery booths are. And one of the things that we've learned as we've developed our booth decision is we really are excited about the stuff that we're getting from Framery right now. This is like going into a soundproof room. Really solid doors. The Wi-Fi gets in here just fine. There's more than enough room. Steve, come on in. There's more than enough room for certainly 2 people, and if you're pretty good friends, you can fit in 4 people here relatively comfortably. Certainly 3 is not a problem at all. But most importantly, when you close that door, if I didn't have my mic on, you wouldn't be able to hear me at all, but you can't hear a thing outside when I'm talking. So let's go over. We're going to show you some other collaboration spaces that we've done that people are really excited about seeing. Our marketing department is all about creativity and how people work together. So one of the things that we did is even sometimes the real estate and facilities folks would be creative. Steve and I went to a meeting with the people from Human Scale, and they called out that they had something called a mushroom. And we saw this and we immediately said, you know, that is going to be great in the new 4th floor project. And we talked to our furniture dealer and we said, you need to talk to Human Scale and go get them some mushrooms. And so it adds a lot of color here, and they're really comfortable. And if you're into exercising, they're really good for your core too. But ultimately, what this is really about is to have a variety of different seating styles that people can be. How many times have you sat in a conference room and been in a rocking chair? Or more importantly, for people that don't like to be challenged or have people talking to them and trying to get them, by giving them seating that looks like something they'd have at their home, they're much more comfortable, and they're probably much more willing to be open and talk about the things that are important that need to come out in a meeting. And then we also, in this case, what we did is we gave them some pegboards, because a lot of our people from marketing have paper and ideas. It's sort of like the old school Pinterest. Yes, we still like to put stuff up on pegboards and make that happen. Now, Steve, I think there's some more of your chairs down here. Can we take everybody down and show them the other chairs? Let's go. So we've really tried to intersperse these chairs throughout so that people can come and hide as they want. And yes, there are some times where both Dan and Steve like to sit down and just disappear. And this is a great way to do it. We can sit here, you can watch the fall colors, you can watch the trees bud in the springtime, and just be here by yourself. And you know, you can even pull this up and have your laptop here. And if you want to charge your mobile device, we've got chargers here for you, and you can plug your laptop in and keep it charged while you're working here. And hopefully, if you're not a snorer, you can even kick up your feet and close your eyes for a couple of minutes and take a quick nap. So one of the things that we were always talking about is how many offices do we need to have in our new space if we're going to be flex? And so one of the things that we wanted to show is how we could take one of these offices and repurpose it as collaboration space. So that's what we did. We took all the office furniture out of here. It's all mobile furniture, can easily be taken out, and brought in comfortable furniture so that we can show, if we do decide to take out all of our offices, how we would repurpose the space for additional collaboration space or other uses. Now, one of the other things that we talked about, we made a change early on when we came down here, when we knew that marketing was going to come down here. And what was one of the things that we were worried about?
They were going to go to flex seating, and we have more people than we have seats. And we knew that people had things that they needed to store, so we went with lockers.
And they worked out pretty well, didn't they?
They have, yeah.
So this is what we've done, is we brought in a whole set of lockers, and they've been interspersed throughout the space, and they'll be assigned to individuals so that they can come in, leave whatever they want. They can reprogram the locks each time they come in and use them. They can't lock their stuff and leave it here, and we do have codes to be able to get it in. But this has reduced the amount of stuff that needs to be left on any one of the desks. And, you know, we have some people that still like books. Some of our writers still like pens and pencils. They don't want to just do it on their laptop. And this is a way for them to be able to leave some of that stuff here and be able to use it. Now, not all of this is unique. All of you have probably done some of this in one of your projects along the way. This is really about collaboration and talking to people and really being able to learn from their needs. And so one of the things that we have learned tremendously in talking to all of the people that have used these conference rooms is that there's always hanger-oners. If there's a big meeting, or if there's going to be somebody senior that's going to talk to the group, even though the conference room could have held 20, there could easily be 30. So we always had this space because we always have credenzas in our conference room because food is a big thing at Pega. So what we did is, rather than just have this be wasted space, we put seats over here. And now I don't have to move chairs around anymore. I don't have chairs that get stolen from other conference rooms. And I have a comfortable spot where a significant number of people can be added to a room in a very short period of time, and I don't have to send staff around later on moving conference room chairs from other conference rooms back to where they came from initially. Been very, very well received. We're using it in some new designs that we're looking at for offices outside the United States, and it's working out pretty well. All right, well, that's our new space. We have some employees that are really excited about what we've done. Our senior leadership has said, hey, Dan and Steve, you've really done a great job. We're really happy with what's here. And, you know, a lot of our employees are excited about coming back to work here. Some of the lessons learned: one, got to have a great partner. And obviously the people from Margulies and Peruzzi have worked very hard sort of figuring out what Pega needed. But the one thing that I really want to drive home that I think is most important is that you've seen a number of things that we have done cooperatively to make sure that all of the people that we have to work with have had a say in the project. I think Steve would agree with me that we have probably one of the best teams that we've worked with in our careers here at Pega that we have a really great rapport with, as you can see with John coming and helping us out at the last minute doing our meeting with Margulies. But we're going to jump out of the video right now and go live and be able to answer some additional questions about what Pega is doing for COVID-19 and the workplace of the future. And we'll even be able to take some of your questions live through the meeting that we're going to cut back into. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing some of your questions shortly.
Well, Dan and Steve, thank you so much. That was an incredible video. Still really, it's still amazing that you did that in one take. I get that Norm Abrams kind of vibe from.
Well, I wore Norm's shirt today too. Now that I'm up here in New Hampshire, Maureen. So
Yeah, you're a star, Dan.
I'm starting to feel like maybe I can do it. And you can see I'm sort of in my unfinished space in my house in New Hampshire. So I thought I would channel it as much as I could as we get started here.
Awesome. So obviously a lot of thought and planning went into this. I'd love to be able to turn it over to Mark and Janet over at MPA, and we'll start with Mark just to kind of kick things off. Mark?
Great. Thanks, Maureen.
Yeah, of course.
Dan, appreciate the tour, and it's really fun to see it. I know that we had talked about the fact that you have a great relationship with the folks from IT, but I also know that you're evaluating some different technologies in terms of managing the space going forward. Do you want to talk for a second about your research or thoughts about that?
Well, I'm gonna turn this over to Steve, because we talked about this, and he's been, I think there was even a call this morning that they were working on. So Steve, let's talk a little bit about how much time we're spending on technology as we start talking about coming back to the office, but more importantly, what are the specific areas that we're looking at?
So we're spending a lot of time on technology now. My coworker, John Wellington, who's not here on this meeting, he's the head of our facilities technology, and he is constantly vetting software packages every day to figure out how best to handle back to work scenarios. And what we're finding out is that no one software package takes care of everything perfectly. So we're vetting visitor management packages. We're talking about hotel desk scheduling, room scheduling. And there are a lot of these vendors that do one component really well, and then they may offer 2 or 3 other things that they do, but not as well as another vendor. So, and just yesterday, I ended up talking with another vendor about locker management, because as we move forward, if we end up going to flex seating, unassigned seating, we're going to need to use more lockers. How do you manage those? So it's a big part of our everyday now is vetting these different technologies and what ones we're going to use.
So, I think from a strategy standpoint, Mark, I think that's really the key part of this. Some of the core things that we're talking about is, one, what is the interoperability of this stuff? And so we're bringing in IT folks right away. 2, everybody has heard about the intrusion that happened at Target a number of years ago, where a piece of technology that was used to manage their HVAC systems allowed people to go in and steal 60 million of their customer records, right? So a lot of what we're spending our time on as we're talking to these vendors, it's not just about the features and functionality, but a large part of the discussion is around their security strategy and what sort of certifications have they gotten? We're talking about GDPR, especially when we're talking about visitor stuff. We're talking about, their security strategy and where are they hosting it even, and what are they using from their hosting sites. So this is no longer just go out and pick a piece of technology anymore, because all of this stuff is SaaS, and it's really about the whole infrastructure. As a matter of fact, John, Steve, and I have a discussion with our CISO and our CTO next week to say, okay, guys, what's the overall strategy? And I think that as people are starting to look at technology, that's got to be the foundational piece of this is, okay, here are our challenges. This is what we're trying to solve for. what is the corporate strategy to make this work? How do we not end up in the situation that Target did a number of years ago? Or even solar winds, another perfect example of the solar winds thing, right? And
Sure.
so I think that that's really the key piece of this.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Janet?
If I can ask you a question, Dan and Steve, you showed us in the tour some changes you made to the space during the pandemic to adjust to, if you have people coming in now and then. But looking forward to post-pandemic, what changes do you think you'll be making to the space to accommodate hybrid work, which most likely is what's going to be happening?
Well, obviously, the first one was the lockers, and you know what? I'm even beginning to think that maybe we don't have enough lockers, even though we had a ratio, I think, of what 1.4, 1.7 to 1. I don't think that that's going to be enough. Two, we would space out the desks a little bit more. I think we're going to go in and take some of the desks out because the density, although was good pre-COVID, I'm not sure that it'll be accepted post-COVID. And so we got to take a closer look at that. And then, we talk about technology, right? So it's all about how do we keep track of what desks are being used and how do we coordinate with that with the cleaners and make sure that we can do it. And then it's the variety of spaces, like we talked about that library piece. That library piece is going to become an important part because there are people that are going to want to come in because they've gotten away from their kids and they're going to want that quiet space. And although Steve and I like to go down and take those chairs, going into a room where nobody can bring their phone, they can't put their headphones in and listen to music because that'll be a distraction for some people. That's going to be another important piece of this. But, consistently as we've talked to everybody, you guys absolutely nailed it on the variety of different types of collaboration spaces, because that is the one thing that we're consistently hearing from our senior executives all the way down is, if I'm coming to the office, I want to know where my people are going to be and I want to be sitting next to them, and I'm coming in to meet with them, not just because I want to come to the office. And I think that that's really the key piece. We're not going to change any of the collaboration spaces. We're going to leave those just the way they are because we think that we have the right ratio.
So Dan, we're getting, and Steve, we're getting a lot of really great comments around your space and how fun it is and how cool it is. There are some specific technology questions here that they want to address. One in particular, they want to know the name of the monitor and software you used when you were writing on the board over it.
Again, it's a WebEx smartboard, right? And so again, I want to make it clear, right? As we are now going into our post-COVID world, everybody raise your hand. How many people love WebEx? How many people hate Zoom? How many think that Microsoft Teams is the best thing next to sliced bread? Everybody has a different opinion, and there's a whole bunch of things that we're working on now, right? So all of the stuff that you saw is all WebEx, Cisco WebEx equipment. So we early on, actually, this is fascinating. When we did the office in Cambridge 10 years ago, we did a thing, and I was talking about the great technology that we did. It was light years ahead of what we had before. If I was to put that technology today into our office, people would put a bullet in my head, right? And so I love the technology. Obviously, you saw I took the thing out of John's hand and I immediately went to the board and started writing on it, right? It's real easy to use. And so, but one of the things that they're talking about now is looking at different technology. And so we're now trying to figure out, hey, we just made this huge investment in all of these monitors and everything else. Will it work? And how do we pivot with the IT guys to make sure that we're getting what we want? And then the other thing that I think is really important, right, is that when you're working with IT, everybody's talking about sensors, right? Well, if you saw that WebEx board, whenever I talked, it would focus on me. And the reason that it was because they have technology where it can figure out where people are. It will know the face in the room and sort of focus on you when you talk.
Even when
Well,
you're hiding in the chair?
that's a sensor. Yeah. That's a sensor. So we're not looking at spending extra money on sensors. What we're doing is we're going to IT to say, hey, go to Cisco. I want to know how many faces were in that room. And we're going to use that information that's already being gathered by existing technology purchases to get some of the utilization information. So that's the other thing that I think is really important to take away from this is we all tend to go off and try to solve our problems by ourselves by adding more cost. But we're saying, hey, wait a minute, talk to your partners, make sure you know what you're getting already before you go out and spend additional money, because you may be able to do it without spending a dime. It's just a matter of being able to understand the data. So then you need the data science side of it, right? You need a database expert so that you can put this stuff into a database so that you can pull it back out again. And then finding a partner where you can get a good dashboard that shows you that utilization. And that's the other thing that we're focused on now is the metrics and being able to analyze that data.
Dan, are you worried at all about employee sensitivity to sensors or censoring, being censored?
Well, they're being censored already. I just said that we're already using
Right.
WebEx, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
so no, we haven't figured out what we're going to censor yet. We're just going to, we figure that, hey, we're already got the information. You know, we know how many people the sensors that we are looking at, or the data that we're looking to gather, is not to a particular person. It is to numbers and only numbers, right? So just because I recognize that it's a face, I don't know whether it's Maureen or Janet or Mark for that matter, right? All I'm interested in is the numbers. I don't care who they are, where they came from. I'm really looking at utilization.
An important distinction. Thank you.
That's what's important to me. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't want to go with the specific sensors. We really want to use the data that we're already gathering so that we're making the best use of what we have.
Great, thank you.
And this question may be premature because it sounds like you may not have made a decision on this yet, but with all the flex desking, what scheduling software are you guys using for, or will you guys use for employees? It sounds like that's still up in the air.
No. We have just made a strategic decision early in January that we're going to be switching out our old facility management system for something called Tango Analytics. And so I think I much prefer to have John here to answer the question, because he's my go-to guy on the technology. But ultimately what the decision was based on was, one, ease of use. We learned a lot from implementing our last facility management package, and it was a tough lift, to be perfectly honest with you. And as we really started to try to make use of it, we were finding that the databases that we were trying to get into were difficult, and that the different packages were coming from companies' acquisitions, right? And so Pegasystems talks about their layer cake, right? And that we don't, I'm sorry, a Frankenstack. If you go to our competitors, they talk about a Frankenstack because you're trying to pile on all of these different pieces of software that have been acquired. But Pega, pretty much what you buy comes out of the box, and it's easy to use. Well, one of the reasons that we really sort of focused on Tango, and there are benefits and disadvantages, but this is what works for us, is one, fantastic dashboard. That was number one. We are all about metrics and how are we going to be able to measure utilization in space. Two, that we're not going to go to Flex everywhere. I'm a global company, and there are offices that we have. You know, I was talking with one of my guys. He's got his wife, his son, and his in-laws living with him in an 800 square foot apartment in India. And so that's not really conducive to be able to work from home. So there's going to be a significant number of locations, and I would use Krakow as another example, where I still need that assigned seating capability. So I can't just go to 100% flex. So I need a facility management package that does both the flex side and the assigned side, so that I can plan out what I'm doing. And then the metrics on top of that, so I can sort of show how much is being utilized. And that's the other piece that Tango brought into it, was a pretty good reservation system for spaces, so that we could get utilization. And then obviously we can also bring in badge information into Tango so that we can cross-reference what's going on. And then they also have the concept of neighborhoods. That's going to be another big piece that we were looking for, is will the package support neighborhoods, and how do we, sort of guide people to where their departments are going to be. Steve, do you have anything else that you would add to the whole Tango decision?
Just that it was surprising that a lot of the competitors did not have the analytical chops that Tango does. Just the reporting was a really big part.
I don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to take a risk. One of the things that my staff said is Tango was the only company that was able to answer every one of Dan Ryan's questions while they were doing their demo. Right. And so those people that have worked with me in the past, Maureen, Mark, Janet, know that I ask a lot of really hard questions. And there wasn't a thing that Tango couldn't do in their demos with us when we were asking our really hard questions. And I think that that's really what sold us on it, is they had thought through, or they had smart enough people that understood their product and could say, well, no, we haven't done it, but here's how you could do it. And so that's what I think really sold us on the company. We had actually, to be perfectly honest with you, we didn't even look at them 3 years ago when we made our previous decision, because they were focused on the retail side for their business and have completely shifted to be able to support the corporate side now. They had started to make that transition, but weren't quite ready for it. But I think that's the other thing that sort of sold us on it. I'm sorry, I didn't think this was going to turn into a Tango sales pitch.
Well, I think people are now going to be looking into Tango. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
we
great.
spent a lot of time on it.
Well, we do have a few more questions in here that I'd love to be able to get to. This one is, how has Pega made a decision on their return to work date, and what percentage of capacity? So I guess that would be here and
the first, second, or third time. So yes, I mean, certainly we expect to come back to the office. Pega has traditionally been be in the office kind of company. But from a senior management down, there has been a tremendous amount of learning that has gone on. So we, like a lot of other technology companies, have set dates. We tend to be conservative. So we don't throw dates out that are really far out there. We have been doing it a couple of quarters at a time. Our current back to work date right now is end of June, 1st of July. And we're preparing for that like we were when we said it was going to be January and when we said it was going to be November. So, we will be ready when the company does it. And how many come back? Who knows? I think we are a completely different company, and I think we're going to give people some flexibility, but we're going to want people to come back and collaborate. I'm a firm believer. Well, it's sort of my job, right? So I want people to come back, but I think as a company culture, we believe that people have to come together in order to really, truly innovate. Steve and I talk on a regular basis, and other than on his one-on-ones. And
We
so
talk.
so what we do is we innovate because we're talking. It's not the first question that is the important one, it's the second or third one. And especially when you're talking about engineers, they tend to be more introverted. I won't say they are introverted, because there are a number of extroverted engineers, but not as many as you might expect. And so we would prefer that they are sitting next to each other, so that when an idea comes up, they can explore it right then and there, because most people do not write those ideas down right away and say, the next time I'm going to give Mark a call, I'm going to ask him that question. They forget it. So we feel that there's a lot of value in people being next to each other if it's safe for them to do that.
And
Well-
have you or will you survey your employees to know how they feel about the number of days that they want to come back?
We have given people the opportunity. What we did is we started with senior management and said, okay, by job category, how would you expect people to come to the office? Because what we didn't want it to do, Mark, is to be based on a manager's perception of whether or not you should be in the office, right? So a lot of the way that we have identified how people are going to come back to the office is based on job description or job category, not based on the individual. Now, if the individual decides that they want to be in 5 days a week, there will be an office for them. But if they're identified as being in 3 days a week, they better be in a couple of days a week at a minimum, because somebody's going to come knocking on their door saying, hey, we really have value or think that there's value. But, I'll give you a perfect example. All of our finance people have been identified as work from home. Who would have guessed that of all of the organizations that our whole finance organization would be work from home going forward?
What do you mean by work from home then? Is it
They're not going to
100%
come
work?
back to the office. They can
Not-
be at home
not
5
at all.
days a week.
Really?
I mean, that's the thing that blows my mind. Now, Steve asked if he could work from home all the time, but I said, no, your
Yeah.
job is in the office, right? And so,
So what about the cultural aspects of 5 days working from home? Is that a concern?
it all depends on who you talk to. I think that that's going to be the single biggest challenge for any corporation,
Right.
is how do you build that culture? So a lot of that responsibility is going to fall on Steve and I's shoulder. How do we create space that people want to come to and can accomplish what they set out to do when they came into the office? So, you're going to see exercise spaces. We even reached out to Bright Horizons to see if it made sense. Do we want to go to our HR people and say, hey, here's what you'd have to do to put in a daycare center? There's all sorts of things that I think companies are going to end up doing that they didn't do prior to this that will help draw people into the office or make it more worthwhile to be there than to be at home. But, as much as I like my fancy digs here in New Hampshire, I would much prefer to be in the office 3 days a week than to be stuck in New Hampshire. It's a great place in the summertime, on the weekends, but not sure that this is where I want to be on a regular basis. And I think that that's really the key to this whole thing, is this is going to become personal, how people are going to use the office. And then for Pega, I think the other thing that we're looking at is, we've all talked about the commute into Boston, and it used to be just tell them to come. They're getting paid, they'll come, don't worry about it. Well, as we start to look at this, COVID-19 has forced corporations to take a commute into consideration greater than they ever did before. And I think, we have an office in Salem, we have an office in Cambridge. I think within the next year, we'll have an office in the suburbs. Next year and a half. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think that that's really what it's going to be. And then based on where people are coming from, they will pick what office they need to go to that day based on what they want to accomplish.
So we have a few more minutes of time for a couple more questions. Dan, you mentioned finding 100% at home. We do have a question here that says, is your company doing anything to support the staff workplace needs at home?
Oh, here we go again. We talk about this on a regular basis. So we did do something early on for our employees in India, because nobody in India, first of all, Indian employees are paid significantly less than everywhere else. I don't think I'm telling anybody anything that they didn't know. So we felt very strongly that we need to support those people to make sure that they had spaces. Now that we're solidifying our work from home strategy, we are now starting to talk about whether or not we would provide people and what we provide them. So what we've done so far is we've allowed a lot of people to take, obviously, their laptops and docking stations, and a lot of people have taken monitor home. We have not provided, outside of India, a specific stipend to people to build an office. But here's sort of what my recommendation has been to our HR people as we have started to talk about this. Number one, I want to set a dollar amount, and that you get a one-time chance to get the reimbursement. Number two, we're going to list specific categories of what they can buy: monitor arm, monitors, height adjustable desk, chair, very limited things. And then we're going to be like our medical insurance. You're going to get, you know, $50 for a filling, you're going to get $200 for a pulling of a tooth, you know, and so we're going to give people a certain amount of money for each one of those categories. And then they have to provide us not only the receipts, but a picture of everything after that gets installed. And this is really around employee health and safety, is the way that I have sort of couched it with our HR people. Is this is going to become a much bigger issue than it has been up until this point in time. And that if we're going to invest the money, we need to, one, make sure that the money is being invested back into their work environment, but two, that we can keep track of what they have been given. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I got a back problem, I'm going to say, show me that chair that you bought. And make sure that that chair is still there and that they're using it correctly, before we then do the next piece to help them deal with it, whatever that ergonomic issue is. But I want to make sure that we're making sure that people aren't going out and buying that $1,000 curved screen monitor that has, you know, a bazillion K resolution, right? We don't need that. We need good ergonomic spaces at their houses that they can work with, and we need to guide them to making good decisions, not just the decision that they want to make.
That's a great answer, Dan. So I think I can end, we have time for one last question, and it's a two-parter from two different people. So one was around the size of the workstations. What size are the desks or the workstations, and are they cabled or using wireless only for the workspaces?
So Steve, correct me, they're 30 inches deep and they're 5.5 feet long. Is what we went with. And that's been pretty much our standard up until this point in time. We may make them bigger when we go to do our next one. We're still investigating that. Or do we just separate them and put them in a different configuration? I don't think people need more, because it's down to a keyboard, a mouse. Nobody has, you know, I still have my Dan Ryan shrine in my office, but that's coming home with me the next time I'm there, because that's going to go away. And then I'm sorry, what was the second piece?
They are cabled, and
yes.
we use cable.
So that was we have created a new standard. We only provide one drop per each workstation, just as a backup. We have some engineers that have big downloads that they do, and they want to have a full gigabit, but I haven't connected my laptop to a network in over a year and a half. And even the connection to all of that Spark board that you saw, that connection was wireless from Steve's laptop. So everything is wireless within Pega offices now, from an AV standpoint to a desktop. I even have a wireless connection to the big monitor in my office. So if I have a team meeting, I can project what's on my laptop on the big screen. It's all wireless, again, using Cisco connectivity tools, Cisco proximity.
Awesome. Well, I think we're up against the clock here now. Dan, Steve, obviously, thank you so much. You were very generous with your information. That video is awesome. Mark, Janet, thank you so much. And to our programs committee chairs, Joy and Kathy, thank you. There will be a survey that goes out following this event, and I apologize that we weren't able to get to all of the questions, but fantastic program, Dan and Steve.
Maureen, if there are other questions, just have them send me an email. I'll try to respond to whatever questions they might have.
Will do. Thanks all, and have a wonderful day.
Great. Thanks, Maureen. Well done.
Thank you.